Alright, finally. Here we go. The scariest educational game ever made. This is another one from Yuko. Oh, I don't know what to expect from this. I don't recognize it. So, let's get into the spooky ookie. Are you ready? Do you have your adult diapers ready to go? Let's see how well this video loads.
When you think of educational games, you probably think of something like this. As opposed to something like
I
this.
actually kind of recognize it. What the fuck? We're just going right in. Okay, we're going right into it.
This is
Okay.
Cosmology
All
of
right.
Kyoto, a point-and-click adventure game where you explore the ancient Japanese capital of Heiankyo, which today is known as Kyoto. You encounter various historical figures, visit famous sites, learn how the different castes of people in society lived, and run into ghosts and demons who will kill you in horrific ways if you aren't prepared.
What? Okay. No.
It's a game that mixes historical fact with folkloric horror in a way that I've never seen done outside of books and movies. So get your encyclopedias ready, along with your Buddhist sutra to ward off the malicious spirits, and let's dive into
For education.
Cosmology
Yeah, okay.
of Kyoto.
This is the way I would have flunked that. Don't give me a pop quiz on it, because I would have ran out the building.
Soft Edge and published by Yano Electric for PC and Mac in Japan in 1993. It was released in English for Macs in 94 and got an English PC release the following year. Riding the wave of the all-encompassing Mist and coming out on one of those newfangled CD-ROMs, Cosmology of Kyoto seemed poised to be one of those games that found their way into nearly everyone's home as a curious oddity. You know, one of those jewel cases you'd pull out of the weird rack on the side of the computer desk at a friend or relative's house and be like, huh, what the hell's this? But sadly, this wasn't to be, as the game sold poorly. But it did garner a fair amount of critical acclaim. Even famed movie critic and notorious video game hater Roger Ebert named it as one of only 2 games he had ever played and enjoyed, the other being Myst. Before we go any further, I want to give a special thanks to these dungeon connoisseurs and dungeon architects who support me on Patreon. If you'd like to watch videos early and possibly get your name in upcoming videos, click the Patreon link down in the description to find out how. Now, you can find Mac, Windows 3.x, and Windows 95 versions of Cosmology of Kyoto through sites like My Abandonedware and the like, but good luck
have your
getting
web
them to run
pages
on
in
modern
dark mode or
systems.
something.
Luckily, there's a site by the name of the Collection Chamber that has you covered.
I can't
Here,
keep getting flashbanged in the fucking face.
Of the game
My eyeballs
that's
are
configured
burning.
to run in DOSBox. The owner of the site has already done all the heavy lifting to get this to work, so all you need to do is download the game, run the installer in the zip file, and voila, it just works.
It just works.
The Collection Chamber is an amazing site, by the way, with a depository of hundreds of old abandoned games, and the person who runs it has reconfigured all of them to run in DOSBox on modern.
Yeah, shout out to the people that have done this for video games everywhere, because it is so hard to try to keep a hold of video game history in general, because a lot of these games, especially the ones that never got physical releases or were very limited, they kind of just get lost. So a lot of these websites fighting to try to keep video games alive, older video games or any video games, like, shout out to them, because it's an uphill battle with these fucking video game companies.
Systems. So go check it out and consider donating to them, because they're doing God's work over there. So once you hop into the game, you're immediately greeted with the main menu. Choose new game and you're thrust into character creation. Yes, this game has a character creator. Select married or single, male or female, and as far as I could tell, these have no bearing on anything. Then type in your name. Don't mind that you won't be able to see what you're typing. This is an unfortunate side effect of DOSBox emulation with this game. Oh, but be sure to
Does the
remember what you
DLC
type.
come with the
Your
option
name
to
is
say
also
divorced?
your password when loading a saved game. Next, you can choose what your
Could you
character will
imagine
look like.
a DLC
but don't
just
get
to
too
have the
excited.
option
it's
for
not
divorced?
that advanced, and everything ends up pretty much looking like a me reject in the end. After that, we get a text scroll that goes by entirely too fast, but it gives you the historical context for the game and also lays out some of the more supernatural and occult themes that are present. In 797, the Emperor of Japan moved the capital to Kyoto after a series of bloody civil wars, and the intro paints the emperor's reasoning for the move as motivated by a curse put on him and his
every
court
time it
by
switches
the
from
prince
like
who died in the
a
old
darker
capital. So the emperor wants to
screen and
escape the
goes to,
vengeful
like,
spirits created by so much
bright
bloodshed.
white.
The city of Kyoto is fortified with occult
My eyeballs
defenses,
sizzle.
and thanks to this, the culture of the city blooms. Now it is the 900s, 10th century Japan. Kyoto is a prosperous city on the surface, but underneath there are political power struggles, sickness in the streets, and a series of fires and other misfortunes. The ending of the intro text puts it better than I ever could. Out of the darkness, out of bounds, demons and goblins appear. It is a time when the darkness is truly black, when the light which shines reaches far into the soul. The space that is Kyoto works like a mirror that projects the depths of the human mind.
It was 1993,
and it is about to
so
become the mirror of your mind. As I mentioned earlier, Cosmology of Kyoto mixes the factual and the folkloric, basically recreating the mindset of a person living in 10th century Japan. It was a superstitious time. Many people believed in the existence of ghosts and demons. As far as they knew, those scary cautionary tales that we consider fiction nowadays were true. And so, as you explore the city, you'll come face to face with ghosts and demons, catch glimpses of things out of the corner of your eye, or something popping out from behind a building for just a moment.
Yeah,
and
I
think
already
maybe
know.
You imagined
We've
it,
just
but more
gotten
likely,
started.
It was actually there.
Nope. I already know. If I played this as a kid,
You start in a field near the main gates of the
I
city
would've
with nothing in front of you but a mirror.
all over the
Picking it up
place.
and checking it will reveal that you are naked. That's no way to walk around a city. So find the corpse to the south and steal
Depends
its
on
clothes
what
and
kind
the
of
pouch
city.
coins it has
Is
on
it a nude beach or a
Even though
regular
this game
beach?
is fully translated into English with an official Western release, the directions at the top of the screen were left in kanji, Japanese characters. So you'll probably need a little primer on what they mean. This symbol, Kita, is north. Minami is south, Higashi is east, and Nishi is west. Commit these characters to memory because as you go deeper into the city, it'll be helpful to know which direction you're facing to move around and find your way to specific locations by using your map. Now that we've got some clothes and money, we can head into the city, which is to the north.
It's just
but there's a
laying
demon
there.
to the east that we can play whack-a-mole with, who will drop
Not
a
the tongue.
signboard that's actually an amulet. And this will come in handy in just a second. Moving north through the bushes brings us to the main gate. However, if we try to enter, a voice tells us to go back. Turning east, we find a samurai, who we can have a chat with.
こんなところで何をしておる。ここには鬼が出るとの噂が
Oh
あ
my
る。
god.
早々に立ち去れ。
The voice acting in the game is completely in Japanese with English subtitles, and the acting is top-notch throughout the entire thing. It really grounds you in this foreign world, and I'm just glad they didn't attempt to dub the voices into English. 1990 standards of voice acting would have made this a laughable experience.
Yeah,
Listen,
no.
fucker. Mind your own business. This is my business, brains. I don't like your attitude.
What
There's
the
not a
fuck
whole lot of
was
music
that?
throughout, and what
Oh,
little
that took
there
me out.
is foreboding and atmospheric. The perfect creepy backdrop to the dark streets of ancient Kyoto.
Fuck.
There are a lot of strange and
Yeah,
unnerving sound effects too.
I'm like, I know not everyone does it, but I'm so glad now that it's become more popular to release a show or movie or something with not only dubs but also subs. So you could pick and choose which one you want. Cause sometimes it's just even today it's questionable listening. Ooh, spooky ooky.
Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself though. The samurai at the gate notices our amulet board and says it belongs to him. If you return it, he'll be grateful and tell us his name is Watanabe no Tsuna. The amulet was stolen from him by Tsukumogami, the demon of passing time, and that must have been the little fellow we played whack-a-mole with. As we continue our conversation, he'll ask you if you feel something weird. This will have a typing prompt pop up on screen, introducing us to another mechanic for interacting with people. Again, because of the emulation, we can't see what we're typing, but luckily most of the time when this pops up, you'll just have to type yes or no. But there are a couple times where you'll need to type something specific. Anyway, typing yes will have Watanabe turn around in time to see a demon about to attack him.
The drama.
He'll wound the demon, and to thank you for warning him, he'll give you his sword, the Beard Cutter. Pretty good prize for just answering a question. If you say no, the demon will appear, but Watanabe won't give you the sword afterwards. Whatever you choose, now that the demon at the gate has been driven off, you can enter through the main gate. Or you can turn
I love how
west
he's just
and
giving
follow
up a
White
sword that
Fox
was
through a hole
been
in the
in his
outer
family
wall.
for
You can even
generations,
skip the
just like
encounter
that.
with Watanabe entirely by choosing
How
this
video
path.
game-esque.
Either way, you'll end up inside the city. By now, I'm sure you've noticed the strange presentation this game has. As was pretty common for early computer games, much of the screen real estate is taken up by UI elements, and the actual gameplay is relegated to a small portion of the screen. The unique thing about Cosmology of Kyoto is that it allows your view of the world to be presented in widescreen. Well, not true widescreen, especially back in '95 if you were playing on a CRT monitor. But the image
that's a
itself
horror
is
show
wide,
right there.
and this view lends the game a unique look. The illustrations are all gorgeous, with a muted color palette and deep shadows, giving it a dark and creepy edge. The sky in the background and the empty, eerie streets really give this game a forlorn and foreboding feel. The character designs really add a lot of personality to the game, combined with the
way
limited,
these people,
uncanny animations.
The
and
way
yeah,
these
while
people
most of
look
the
are just
animations
so
only consist of a few frames, they
good
move
in a
smoothly
horror
whenever there
way.
is animation on screen.
I don't know
and
if
it looks
that made
great.
sense.
I've already mentioned the directions in the top middle, and clicking on them will open up a map that displays your location, which will be incredibly useful once we start moving around the city. You've also got your settings on the top right, which only consist of a volume meter and voice subtitles toggle. The top left has a reference button, and this is pretty impressive. If you feel like you're in over your head with all the historical information or strange horror events that happen in this game,
sometimes half the time it just feels like they
to get a rundown
phone
of
it
what
in.
just happened to you. Every place you visit, person you talk to, or strange event you see is inspired by some real-life event or story, so you'll be able to get context for everything happening in the game. And the reference menu updates as you experience different things. Then you've got a list of categories in the bottom left which allow you to look through everything included in the game. It's like having an encyclopedia of ancient Kyoto and Japanese history and folklore at your fingertips. This is where the educational aspects of the game surface in their most clear-cut form. But going back to the main screen, we still have the bottom portion to check out. On the left-hand side is a little square, and clicking on it brings up some lines above the box. This is your karma meter, and it raises and lowers depending on your actions during certain events. Having different levels of karma affects other mechanics in the game, which I'll get to later. Next, we have the middle boxes. The top one displays text and also shows item illustrations. The bottom is your inventory, where you'll see the names of things you're currently carrying, and clicking on them will bring up an image of the item in the top box. On the right side is another square, like your karma meter on the left, but this one represents how many coins
I feel bad for the voice actors that actually give their all, and then everybody else just
I'll talk about
falls
this more
flat.
later on. Once inside the city, the game world is completely open for you to explore. Cosmology of Kyoto places a lot of emphasis on free exploration and making your own choices for different events. You don't have to see all the events or collect all the items available in the game to finish it. In fact, you only really need 2 items to complete the game, and one of them isn't even Watanabe's sword. Though, having the sword will make things much easier. And if you're thinking that this is just a breezy, educational adventure with no risk, well, you're wrong. There are encounters that will kill you, but there is no game over. You'll be sent to hell, and will have to endure some tortures before you're resurrected as a new person, brought back to the world of the living in the same spot where you died.
Lovely. The fuck? What? Oh, my eyeballs. My eyes. Yeah, I don't.
You can even loot your previous corpse for your clothes, items, and the money you were carrying. But your karma level is reset after each resurrection. Certain events are reset after death as well, and some events are dictated by your karma level, so you may want to redo some things to raise your karma again. Karma also dictates which version of hell you're sent to. So you
That
may
was
find
fucked
yourself
up.
in
That was fucked
Jigoku,
up.
being tortured by various demons, or Ashura, getting beat up by the gods.
Yeah, they really said we ain't holding back. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but they ain't holding back.
If your karma is too low, you
What the
might
fuck?
not even be resurrected as a human even. You can also be resurrected as a dog. I tried to get this to work during my playthroughs and
What?
couldn't. So I'm not exactly sure what needs to be done to trigger this, but I've read that it's a thing that can happen. So there's no way to game over. But you can get stuck not having the right items, or not knowing exactly where to go or what to do. Anyway, I'm not going to go over all of the events you can run into. There are close to 100 throughout the game, and like I said, you don't need to see all of them to finish. But I will talk about some of the more interesting ones that I ran across, as well as the major ones that you need to complete to progress, and the ending. I feel like most people aren't going to seek this game out, and instead would rather just watch a video about it. But if you're one of the ones who'd rather play it for yourself, then just know that there are spoilers from this point on for pretty much the rest of the video. If you're thinking about playing it, it really is best to bumble around on your own and try to figure things out. And you can always come back to watch this video after you've tried it. With that out of the way, let's get exploring.
Oh my, what in the hell? No. That's a horrific thing to see in a different kind of way than just horror.
Despite the dark mood hanging over the game, there's a lot of people out and about on the streets of Kyoto. An old woman praying to a Jizo statue, a group of beggars and vagrants, thieves, merchants, noblemen. The game does a good job at showing the disparity between the common folk and the wealthy elite. This is most well illustrated in an event where you find a group of peasant kids playing a game called Gicho, which is sort of like an early version of croquet. One of the kids whacks the ball and it ends up hitting the guard of a nobleman's carriage. The nobleman pays no mind to the peasant child, but the angered guard wants to dole out a punishment. If you interfere, you'll wind up dead. And if you don't, the child will be cut down, beheaded right in the streets. Then the nobleman and his group just continue on as if nothing happened. The child's decapitated body will be left in the streets for the rest of the playthrough for you to run across whenever you return to this part of the city also.
That's fucked up, but
Pretty
also
gruesome. You also
probably
run across
historically
some,
accurate.
how should I put this?
As fucked up
Propositions
as it is.
from a few characters who will then lead you to an abandoned home and then, well, the... But these encounters always end in a ghost or demon showing up and killing your lady companion, which is such a shame. She was just a good girl.
Oh my god.
She was a good girl. Mama's apple pie. The 4th of July. She was a hooker!
While wandering around the opening district, you'll run into a group of beggars. If you give some coins to one of the old men, he'll tell you about Nichijo, the priest. And a couple of streets over, you'll run into him,
God,
and
the
he'll
art
invite
in
you
this
back to
game
his shrine.
is
There, you
something
can watch
else.
a ritual being performed, and Nichijo will ask if you want to become a practitioner of esoteric Buddhism. Say yes, and you'll get to practice the ritual yourself. It doesn't matter if you perform it correctly, but when you leave, Nichijo will give you a sutra scroll for your protection. This is one of the 2 items needed to complete the game. Armed with the sutra and the sword, you have all you need to protect yourself while wandering the streets of Kyoto. You might run across some bandits, and they can be cut down, but the timing is really weird and will probably require some practice. Your sword can also thwart some
Yeah,
of the demons.
the sword,
but
by
most
the
of
way, you
time
got
you'll need the
after
sutra
one
to exercise them.
interaction.
There are a few more events in the opening district, like an encounter with a group of demons who are trying to make a person out of a corpse, a procession of ghosts who don't let
playing
you
Frankenstein.
pass, and a strange shrine with chanting coming from inside. You can't enter, but when you try
How
to pass,
inviting.
it will teleport you a few spaces back.
Practically
This also
begging
makes
you
me
to
wanna
come
talk
in,
about
really.
the eerie atmosphere in the game that isn't really related to the supernatural stuff. Your map shows several streets and pathways that you just won't be able to access. Some are blocked physically or metaphysically? I don't know, like by this strange force at the shrine or by the entourage of ghosts. But sometimes there are just darkened streets that you don't have the option to walk down. It gives everything a really foreboding and creepy feeling. Like, what's down those darkened streets that the game doesn't want me to see? Anyway, get
what a
your
jump
sutra
scare.
and head to the market district. There are various shops here where you can spend your money.
Shock
You can
horror.
also borrow money from the supposedly kind-hearted Madam Moneylender, but you need to give up something of yours in exchange.
them
On my
cheeks.
first playthrough, I gave up the Sutra because I didn't want to give up the sword.
Them
Little did I
cheeks
know
are
the Sutra
cheeking.
was way more useful. You don't really need to get any more money or buy anything at any of these merchants. There's a lot of useless stuff on sale, and adventure game logic might lead you to believe that some of it might be important later on, but none of it is. As far as I can tell, there are no events where you need to use any of these items that you can buy. The weapon seller near the market entrance sells a bow, and this is the other item that we need to complete the game, but there's an event a little later on that will net us a free bow for the cost of some negative karma. But hey, at least we don't need to waste our money buying one. There's a monk preaching to a group in one corner of the market who will teach you a Buddhist chant that will raise your karma. And there's also a cockfighting ring where you can bet on fights and win some money, but I've only ever lost trying to bet on these. The main event of the marketplace are these two men who have captured a girl accused of stealing. Help her out by scaring off the men with your sword, and she'll guide you through the exit of the market area and into the second opened area of the city. You'll follow her to a place called Kawara Noin, the abandoned villa of an old nobleman. She'll go up to the house and invite you inside, where the two of you can find shelter from the darkened streets. But just as you're about to enter, the girl's pulled inside by a demon. Entering with your sword drawn, you'll find her corpse strung up inside.
Fucking rude. The audacity. The rude. Horrific.
There's nothing left to do here, but you should re-enter and say yes to the ghost who appears and speaks with you. This will allow you to enter the grounds again for another event later on. If you don't do this, you won't be allowed to re-enter. Now you can freely explore the second area of the city. This section is much bigger than the first, with many more events, and also more dangers, like groups of roaming demons, thieves, and other strange happenings that can leave you dead, and on a trip
Like
through
to imagine
hell for
kids playing this.
reincarnation
Listen,
if you don't
no,
choose the right action.
seriously, if I had played this fucking game as a child, the nightmare fuel, years, childhood trauma, all right, trauma, just endless trauma. It would, I wouldn't even be able to afford the therapy to help me to get through this. Cause like if you're little and you're playing this would. No.
Again, many of these events have historical or folkloric backgrounds, so be sure to consult the reference whenever you witness something that leaves you scratching your head, which will probably be often. At one point, you'll run into Watanabe again. The demon from the front gate will reappear, but Watanabe will break his sword trying to attack it. Let him borrow the beard cutter, and he'll vanquish the demon once and for all.
Oh, かたじけない。かたじけのうござった。
He'll also return the sword to you afterwards. Down the street beyond him, you'll encounter a floating skull, which leads to Tsuchigumo, a spider demon. Kill it with the sword to find the skulls of its victims inside its stomach. There's also just a demon plank that flies out from the side of one of the streets. This thing can kill you, so get your sword ready to fend it off. You'll also find a glowing house where a priest and a husband go inside to find the haunted corpse of the wife who lives there. And the husband just rides her corpse around to subdue it, which was a pretty ridiculous moment.
早く行け。
What? Y'all, that's disrespectful. Leave her alone. Disrespectful. Sure, it's part of the ritual. Uh-huh. Disrespectful.
大丈夫じゃろう。
You may also run across a woman peering at you from behind a fence. Interacting with her will have a handmaiden deliver a poem to you. If you were diligent in your reference work, you'll know that this was a poem with the first line written by a poet and the last line spoken to him by a demon. So obviously nothing good is going to come of this. After reading the poem, you can go in and speak to the woman, and she'll tell you to meet her at the Kawara Noin, the place that the girl from the marketplace led you. Nothing bad ever happens when you follow women there, right?
本当に来てくださいましたね。お待ちいたしておりました。さあさあ、もっと近こう。
Oh god. Nope. Nope.
この女め私の愛しい人を奪いようと憎いやつこの上は取り殺してくれようぞ
Just okay.
もう死んでおる
Can we just stop
Well,
killing the
yeah,
random ass
sad.
women?
She was such a good girl.
Stop it!
You can also find a carriage somewhere in the streets that will take you back to the first district of the city. But you can also just walk back there by passing through the market district again. Anyway, the other major event that you'll want to find here is the man sleeping by one of the palace entrances in the northern part of the city. The palace is your main destination. You can steal his bow, arrows, and his bags. He'll wake up and blame the theft on a demon, and not the guy standing right in front of him holding all of his stuff.
ユミはどこへ行ったお主見なんだか
They went that away.
鬼じゃ鬼に袋を取られた鬼じゃ鬼に袋を取られた
This deals a negative hit to your karma, but if you didn't buy the bow and arrows from the weapon seller earlier, you're going to have to do this. At each of the palace gates, you'll find guards that won't let you through because you're dressed like a commoner. One of the front gates has a man who challenges you to a game of backgammon, but he's a filthy cheater because as I was about to win the match, he crashed the game. So screw that. Along one side of the palace walls, you'll find an opening you can slip through.
The ultimate way to cheat.
Inside, but you'll want to find the trees and follow the figure through them. This person will confront you and reveal themselves to be a demon. Using the sutra will ward them off and allow you to continue through the forest. And then this fox demon comes out and like pisses on you. I have no idea what the hell is happening here.
Not the... No! No!
On the other side of the
Not
forest is the palace grounds, but to enter the palace itself, you'll need some new threads. So look for the demon chowing down on a fat nobleman. Banish the demon with the sutra
that fox
and
had
steal the
some
clothes
booty.
off the corpse. You can enter the palace now, and once you do, you're on the path to the end.
I don't know what's with
no
the cheeks in this game,
Inside,
but
you'll meet the emperor, who talks about
the
how
cheeks
great
are
the capital
cheeking
city
everywhere.
is and how the wards protected him from the terrible things
No one
that
is safe
followed
from
him
the
from
cheeks.
the old capital. Then he disappears. Exploring the throne room will make the demon Nue appear, which is basically a Japanese chimera. Here's where you need the bow. You'll have to time your shot to hit the Nue as it descends from the clouds. You only get 3 chances, and the timing is a little specific, so you might end up dying. Luckily, if you do, you'll be reincarnated near the palace, and we'll just have to pick up your nobleman clothes and the rest of your items off your corpse there. You'll have the bow
just
and
get
arrows
back
as
to
well.
business.
Or you
Just
can just
pick your shit off your
reload a
corpse
save.
and
Killing the Nue will cause a
get
secret
going.
passage to open in the throne room, and following the path here will lead to a group of nobles discussing the fact that the capital hasn't had any rain lately. They notice your presence, and you get a chance to answer them when they question you on what you're doing here. It doesn't matter what you type, because they all get stomped on by a giant demon in a sequence that actually made me jump.
because of course. Ow, my eyes. Oh shit.
Next, you'll find a hooded figure, and
They
after
got-
speaking
they
to
got
him, you'll be
full-on
caught in the
wrecked.
collapse of the palace and both be sent to hell. After a comically long time watching the demons beat on you with their spiked clubs, before I realized you can just click on the hooded figure to advance things, Nichijou will show up and lead the hooded figure out of hell. If you answer yes to his questions, he'll tell you to find the blue light and follow it back to the world of the living. If you say no, you'll have to watch all the torture scenes in Jigoku, but you'll still be able to follow the blue light out. Afterwards, you'll be reincarnated and find Nichijou chanting. With the ethereal track that plays in the background, along with the sentiment of Nichijou's speech, it makes for an actual touching conclusion to such a dark and unnerving game.
一切の生きとし生けるものは幸せであれもろもろの欲望に関するむさぼりを除いた人は決して再び母体に宿ることがないであろう。ナムアミダ仏ナムアミダ仏 南無阿弥陀仏
And that's what's really striking about Cosmology of Kyoto.
Okay.
The combination of the historical and the supernatural, the
Yeah, but I
cruelty
get
of
bills to
humanity
pay.
and the goodness that exists in the majority of us, it's all juxtaposed inside this strange point-and-click adventure game. And though it may be confounding or gruesome at times, it's also brilliant and beautiful. Having seen it all and uncovered its mechanics and mysteries, I can say that it's actually not as open-ended or as indefinite as it would initially lead you to believe as you wander the dark streets, bumping into seemingly random, strange people and happenings, but it is something really special. For anyone with patience who likes history, horror, Japanese culture, adventure games, or any of the above, it's worth checking out. It's a mind-boggling adventure with some shocking and horrific elements that's a one-of-a-kind experience. And that's it for this video. If you liked it, hit the like button. Also, leave a comment. And if you
Yeah,
haven't
it was
subscribed to
pretty
the
good.
channel yet, go ahead and do that. I have a bunch
Like,
of
I
other
have
videos
never
you
heard
can
of this
watch.
game.
I also have a link to the
I've
Collection
never seen
Chamber
anything
website
about
where
it.
you can download this game in the description below. You can also find a
I
link
was
to my
not-
Twitter and a link to the Patreon. Check that out if you want to
I
support
went
the
into
channel.
this completely
And so,
blind,
until next
'cause
time,
I've never heard of this.
Cosmology of
Is-
Kyoto. Check it out. Dungeon Chill. Out.
This would be like,
鬼神にもあるまじき行い天の罰を被
like
るぞ
for
出て
real.
行け
This would be such a fucked up game to play as a kid, though. the trouble. What the? Like the art, the cutscenes, the ridiculousness, the spookiness, the fucked upness. Like, just pure trauma if you played this as a kid. Pure trauma. Like, this had to have affected you somehow if you played it as a kid. Oh, gonna sleep well. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna. The artwork is just. It's definitely gonna stick into your mind. It's definitely unforgettable.